this is my 2017 Mazda Mazda5. Yep, that's its name, Mazda Mazda5. And it's a driver's car. Sort of. Let's begin up front. Look at these sporty lines, look at it. There's this tiny plastic front splitter right here. And for some reason the car really does smile a lot. Look at it, she's really, really happy. And then right here, the Mazda emblem with plastic inside. Because it's actually not an air intake. It's just open down here. There's a bit of room right here where air goes in. And up here too. But this is all solid plastic. See these? These were mounted here so that other cooler options could exist, like extra fog lights or whatever to make it even more sporty. But for me, this is all solid plastic. What about the back? Sporty looks. Little reflectors down here. This part gets ridiculously dirty, by the way. That's how sporty this car is. Single long light assembly that connects with the rail for the back door. And then we've got the little emblem here in chrome. Well, it's not chrome, it's plastic, but never mind. And the logo. One single wiper. Need to remove a little assembly if you want to open it, otherwise it stays there. Washer, rear light, little antenna over there. And here is the switch to open it. It opens like a hatchback, which means you need to pay attention, otherwise you're going to smack yourself in the head. What about closing it? Well, you obviously don't want to get it dirty, do you? So you can grab it here by the light assembly, or here, there's a specifically dedicated little sort of cubby hole handle or whatever, and you just push it down. This car is very manual, as we will soon discover. And now for the side view. There's swooping lines running all along. There's one over here, and there's one over here. Whoa! Goes all the way to here, and then in back, and then one over here that sort of does a weird up and down wavy thing here, and then there's a third one down here. There. They did pay some attention to how the car looks. I appreciate that. Yeah, let's talk technical stuff. This is a 2.5 liter dual overhead cam inline 4 engine. And it's got a silly cover with clips. Two over here. One, two, one, two. There you go. There it is in all of its splendor. The engine produces 157 brake horsepower. And that's pretty much all there is to say about it. We've got disc brakes in the front and in the back, stabilizing bars front and back, independent suspensions front and back. One more thing I should mention is this is the GS trim. There's a GT one as well with more cool stuff in it. Nothing really to write home about, but one difference is that would come with a 17-inch alloys. Mine is 16. One more thing this car comes equipped with is a rain sensor right here on the windshield. This means you also have automatic wipers, and another thing it also has is automatic headbeams. And then there's another thing that's actually quite important, which is the price of this car. Well, it'll set you back between 20,000 and 24,000, I think, including various options like alloys, for example. I think it's time for us to take a look inside. Alright, let's make our way inside the vehicle and let's see what we got. This is what you see as soon as you enter. And there's a lot of blank switches and all sorts of stuff. But the pièce de résistance right there. Stick. Manual gearbox. Yes. Alright. Let's take a look down here. We've got all three pedals. As you can see, this car's been used quite a bit, so it's not exactly clean. It's cleanish. There's a little cubby hole right here for storage. And then blank switches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Traction control. Okay, so here's the steering wheel. It's got some functions on it. There's cruise control. And there's voice commands as well. Also, another blank switch. Right here. And another one. Right there. And I don't know if this counts as one, but I suppose there will be another one. Alright. Now let's take a look inside. This is the view from the cockpit. Odometer, there's speedometer right there. This console is slightly facing your way, this display, and it's got time and various pieces of information. If you press the info button on the steering wheel, that piece of information on the right will change. So you see my average consumption is fuel consumption is about 24 miles per gallon. Not great, but then again, it is a pretty heavy car. Let's take a look here on the right. We've got climate vents, pretty standard. Hazard, controls for the clock, radio stuff. This has Bluetooth, so you can connect the phone and all of that jazz. All beautiful plastic, but I do quite like the way these little knobs feel. It's fairly comfortable. Now down here, you've got actual mismatching materials, because this looks like, these rings here look like a little bit chromey sort of thing, but these don't. These look matte. These are the climate controls. You got temperature here. I mean, fairly standard stuff. This is fairly interesting, rear. We'll talk about it soon, but basically in the back there's vents that the back passengers can control too. Now, here on the right, fairly big glove box. It's quite deep. There's the manual right up there at the top, and down there there's more room. Generic Canadian stuff that you must have. 6-speed manual with reverse. Press and then go left and all the way up. The interesting thing is, I'm obviously doing this with the wrong hand now, but when you do it fairly often, you're going to end up hitting the climate control. It's an incredibly annoying thing, and it happens 50% of the time. I mean, now I'm used to it, so basically when I do this, I make sure my fist is entirely clasped around the gear lever. As you can see, there's very little room, so you'll very often end up doing this by pure accident. I'm exaggerating it now, but it happens a lot. Alright, there's a small cubby down here with 2 power outlets, one of them USB, one of them standard cigar lighter. And then down here you have 2 cup holders and one fairly big cubby. You'll notice there's loads of these little sort of panels that look like it can be opened, but it kind of shouldn't. They're all over the place in this car. Very cheap materials, plastic everywhere. Okay, and there's the seats. The seats are just fabric. The mirror and window controls, there they are. Nothing fancy, nothing special. All fairly nasty plastic. Let's go in the back. Now, one good thing about the doors in the back is that they slide. So they're always out of the way, and you don't have to worry about your children smacking other people's cars. But they do have one problem. I'll show you. These are manual too. So I'm going to pull, and now I need to slide. So the sliding is a completely different motion. It's actually quite a bit of work. I mean, it's not that heavy, but for a child it's not easy to open, for example. And now let's look down here. See this mechanism? It slides. Okay, let's have it slide. It clearly says don't step on that. Now you'll see here, there's a little clip right there. Yeah, that clip is now going to click in place. See that? Yeah, this door doesn't like being slammed open. And children aren't particularly clever, so they will do that a lot. So you need to really give them a stern talking to. Okay, let's enter the back. Oh, this is a little cramped for adults. I mean, you can do it, but it's certainly designed for children. Alright, so here are the climate vents I was telling you about. You can control this from behind. It's not exactly comfortable. You need to reach all the way down there. And we're going to talk about the seat functionalities very soon. These are the only 2 seats in the car that have hooks for baby seats. The one I'm sitting on right here, there, and the one over there. And that's it. The back seats, they're way smaller. And they look like they don't have a headrest, but that thing there in the back, that cushion on the top, is a headrest. You can pull it up by simply yanking it up. All of the seats have these armrests. I have never found a use for them. For me, they're just in the way. They're also in the way as you're traversing here in the middle, trying to get to the back. We're gonna move on, go to the back. Button to open is back here. Whoa, look at how little cargo space there is. This is like smaller than a Toyota Yaris in the back. There's very little cargo space if you want to store anything in the back. This light here, this is the automatic on position when the doors open. This is always off. And then you've got these straps. Now this is one of my favorite things about this car. I presently have 3 children, one is on the way. But you can grab this strap and as simple as a simple pull and then push, the seat is down. So this again, on this side, pull, push, done. One motion. Quite a lot of room. So what about the middle seats? Well, these also can go down. It's a bit of a different process. Strap back here, which is conveniently placed near the entrance. This strap over here, pull up, and this lever. There you go, and now all of a sudden, it's a van. Loads of room. You can also lower the passenger seat if you need to. That's helpful sometimes. Okay, now let's pull them all back up. So for this one, it's actually a two-hand process, so that's not very comfortable. You need to pull up this lever over here and then pull up the seat alongside it. Alright, and then this. And then this. And you're done. Easy. Now, many people will dislike the fact that this is very manual. I like it. First of all, very little that can go wrong with it. Second of all, very fast to do. What about these back seats? The strap that we used before. Pull it again. That strap, pull it again. And like I said, this is a headrest. So you can pull it all the way up. Like this. And then you just press this button, push it down a little bit, and it's going to slide all the way down. That's it. Very simple, very quick. I personally really like the way this works. Now, driver's side seat controls are also manual. This here, this lever is sort of like a pump, which will change the position of the seat. If you're not very tall, you're going to have to pull that up quite a bit. So you have a more sitting upright position. It's going to help you see better. And this is just to lean it forward. And obviously, bar to slide seat forward or back. Nothing here is automated. Alright, let's go. Clutch down. Turn. Whee. One interesting thing about the Mazda 5 is its ground clearance. Much lower than you'd expect. I bottom out frequently with this car. It's really odd, but it is true. I don't really understand it myself. The ride isn't exactly quiet. This is a cheap car, generally speaking. And frankly, I don't really mind that much. I like to drive, even when I drive my family around. The engine warms up very, very quickly. So you can accelerate a little bit more sportily fairly quickly. This is not a fast car, obviously, but it's not a terrible slouch either. The seats offer you barely any support on the sides. It's better than nothing, but it is close to nothing. So if you're taking turns in a spirited fashion, you're gonna feel it. Obviously everything's power assisted, so the feeling in the steering is fairly numb. It's responsive for the kind of car it is. I like this car because it's the only minivan out there that still caters to the driver. You know? The mere fact that they have the courage to put in a manual gearbox where you get to do the driving, where you can decide when to overtake. Sixth now, third. There you go. 5K, 6K, which is where the red line is. You know, it's not that slow. Of course, it does come with an automatic gearbox as well, and they're way more common. But the manual gearbox does exist, and as we know, they are bulletproof compared to any type of automatic transmission. The thing I think I like the least about the car is its fuel consumption, which is, from my point of view, fairly high. Right? I'm averaging 24 miles per gallon according to what the car tells me. Not too happy with that. I mean, it's a bit of a heavy car, I guess, so it does make some degree of sense. But still, I'd like it to use less fuel. One thing I also like that's better than most SUVs, for example, is that the middle row seats have space in between them. So you can look behind, you can see people can converse with one another between all three rows. There are no integrated sort of camera systems or microphones or anything like that, which I'm also a fan of. I don't like spying on my own children. You know how children are, right? They talk to one another, that sort of stuff. They don't want the parents to hear them. I'm fine with that, right? And it sounds like some kind of sort of excuse to pretend this car is better than it is, but it is genuinely true. I like simplicity. I much prefer simplicity to needless complication. Having 12 DVD players in the car, not something I'm interested in. In fact, I'm not interested in having even one. Tire noise is pretty loud though. You can definitely hear it. Wind noise as well. Again, not something I'm bothered by, but it's no Rolls Royce. We're gonna do a spirited 0 to 60 soon. The excitement is difficult to contain. Because it's manual, we have the advantage that we can use engine brakes whenever we want to. So I have to make a spirited slowdown. No problem. Whoa. There's the body roll. It's not extreme, but it's there. Alright. Let's accelerate a bit. $60. Not exactly quick, but you know. It is a minivan. Note to self, you reach 60 in third. Now I know. I think this car is good value for money if what you're interested in is transport. If you're interested in amenities and all sorts of other frills, this isn't the car for you. But it is dramatically cheaper than a Honda Odyssey, for example. And in the end of the day, all of these are utility vehicles, so depreciation is going to destroy their value fairly quickly anyway. And tech has this horrible ability to age in dog years, so something worth keeping in mind. The car has some blind spots. This pillar over here gets in the way of seeing, and all the way in the back there's that tiny little window. You can't really use it. Plus the tiny little window doesn't really roll down. My children tell me that being all the way back there, it does feel a little bit claustrophobic. When the back row seats have their headrest up, visibility is also damaged a little bit. It doesn't have great visibility. This is a very small minivan. Now we're gonna experience a fairly brisk left turn. Let's see how it feels like. Whoa! Tire squeal. Daddy, you're an idiot. Car's too heavy to do that. It was funny though. It was the front tire squealing. See, can you do that with a Honda Odyssey? I don't know, but you can with this. There, I'm back home, and one thing I should definitely mention is this. One thing I really appreciate about this car, it chimes to me very, very, very little. It's got a few chimes. The door's open and the keys are in. This is kind of a chime, but it's alright. Then there's this chime, if the lights are on. Different tone, different pitch, I like it. And then there's the one for the seat belts. 3, 4, 5. Does it 6 times. Odd number. Well, no, even number, but strange. There you go. These are all the chimes, to my knowledge, the car has. So this concludes my review of my 2017 Mazda Mazda5. Is it a driver's car? Not really, no. But as a minivan, it's the closest you can get to that concept. And now, let's go ahead and do the I/O score. Starting with driver involvement, the Mazda 5 offers a somewhat involving driving experience. Part of this is thanks to the glaring absence of tech and analog nature of the experience. It's still a minivan though, it earns a 3 out of 10. Presence. The Mazda 5 is styled in a sportier fashion than all other minivans on the market. With that said, it's smaller than its competition, so it looks less imposing. I'll give it a 3 out of 10. Interior. The Mazda 5 is comfortable, relatively spacious, but has very few gadgets and gizmos. It's a very bare-bone vehicle with cheap materials everywhere, but the interior is functional and easy to use. I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Construction. There's literally nothing to say about this car that is interesting in any way when it comes to build or tech, besides the existence of the manual transmission. I'll give it a 2 out of 10. Versatility. The Mazda 5 is an all-season car. It works for commuting as well as long trips. For a minivan, it's quite a small vehicle, which helps with parking, but negatively impacts cargo space, which is minimal if you're carrying 6 passengers. All seats fold down to a flat surface, however, which turns the car into a spacious van. The lack of cameras and driving aids lowers its score to a 7 out of 10. Wow factor. You are invisible when you're in this car. This can very well be an advantage if that's what you want, but in this category it's an undisputable 1 out of 10. Value. This minivan has an excellent reliability track record and no recalls in its history. The manual gearbox is notoriously reliable too. The car is low in maintenance and cheap to service, but the gas mileage is stellar. It's smaller and more cheaply made than its competitors, however, it is also a lot cheaper, even fully spec'd out. Good value for money, but don't expect it to be worth anything as it ages. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Importance. The Mazda 5 is a barely recognized model by its own company, seeing how it cannot even be found on their dealers' websites. While I like it that Mazda is injecting its zoom philosophy into their minivan by making it a more driver-focused experience, I cannot see the Mazda 5 as being important to them or the world in any way. 1 out of 10. So, the final inside score is 20 out of 40, the final outside score is 7 out of 40. The Mazda 5 is an acceptable car to live with, but it does nothing to increase your car nut points. And the final I/O score is 27 out of 80.